It started with a knock. Not the kind you expect. No urgency. No panic. Just 3 slow taps on my apartment door. At 7:13 in the morning. When I opened it, my landlord was standing there, coffee in one hand, envelope in the other. And what he said next didn't make any sense. "You don't need to pay rent this month. Consider it a thank you." Then he handed me the envelope, smiled like he knew something I didn't, and walked away. No explanation, no warning, just a free month of rent, and a favor I never saw coming. I moved into the building 3 months earlier. Nothing fancy, just a small red brick complex in upstate New York. Quiet neighbors, no weird smells, laundry in the basement. A win by Craigslist standards. The landlord, Mr. Dalton, was in his late 50s, kept to himself, always wore polished shoes and a watch older than I was. He lived in the unit downstairs, but it often felt like he wasn't there at all. We barely spoke, outside of rent reminders and the occasional "everything working okay?" texts. He was polite, formal, and always slightly out of reach, which made that knock even stranger. I opened the envelope after my second cup of coffee, expecting some kind of catch, but inside was a typed note. "Your rent has been waived for the month of May. No late fees will apply. I appreciate your presence here. We'll speak again soon." There was no signature, no mention of a favor, just that cryptic line. "We'll speak again soon." I stared at it for a long time. I wasn't behind on rent. I hadn't done anything special. If anything, I kept to myself too much. Why now? Why me? I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe he was just being generous. Maybe someone else had moved out unexpectedly, and he wanted to keep good tenants happy. I should have left it at that. But curiosity doesn't listen to reason. For the next few days, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Every time I passed Mr. Dalton's unit, I slowed my steps. But the windows stayed dark, curtains drawn, no movement, no sounds. Then, on a Friday night, I heard the knock again. Same pattern, 3 slow taps. This time, when I opened the door, Mr. Dalton looked different. No coffee, no smile. Just a man standing very still, holding a small cardboard box wrapped in duct tape. He didn't offer it to me, not yet. "I was wondering," he said, "if you might do me a favor in return." His voice was lower than usual, measured, like he was choosing every word carefully. I hesitated. "What kind of favor?" He held the box up slightly. "Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous, just unusual." I stared at the box. There were no markings, no labels. It didn't rattle. It wasn't heavy. "What's inside?" Mr. Dalton looked over his shoulder, even though the hallway was empty. "Something that doesn't belong here anymore." Then he offered it to me. "I'll explain, but not now. Can you hold on to it for one night?" One night. That's all he asked. And even though every instinct in me screamed, "say no," I took the box. Because it was just one night. Because I owed him a month of rent. Because I was too curious for my own good. I closed the door, set the box on the kitchen counter, and the second I turned my back, I swear I heard something move inside. I didn't touch it at first. The box just sat there on the kitchen counter like a dare. Rough, brown cardboard, edges worn like it had been opened and closed a dozen times. Thick gray duct tape sealed every inch, as if someone really didn't want it opened, or didn't want something to get out. I leaned in close. No labels, no writing. Just a faint smell, dust and something sharp, like old metal or dry earth. And I kept thinking about what Mr. Dalton said, something that doesn't belong here anymore. What did that mean? A keepsake from a past life? A mistake he couldn't throw away? A cursed object? That last one made me laugh, but only a little, because the longer I stared at it, the less I felt like laughing. Around midnight, I made tea just to have something warm in my hands. The box remained on the counter, untouched. silent, until I turned away. Then I heard it. A thump. Not loud, not violent. Just a soft, deliberate shift, like something had settled, or moved. I whipped around. The box hadn't changed position, but now it felt different, like it was aware of me. I took a deep breath and walked toward it, phone flashlight on. I pressed my hand lightly against one side. Warm. Not hot, not vibrating, just warm. Too warm for cardboard sitting in a cool apartment all night. That's when I made the decision. One piece of tape. That's it. Just enough to see what's inside. I peeled one corner slowly. The tape made that awful tearing sound, like Velcro ripping through silence. And as I lifted it, something shifted again, this time inside. I jumped back, heart racing, the flap still partially sealed. Then I heard it. A sound I will never forget. A whisper. Faint. Human. Impossible. Please. My blood went cold. I froze for a full minute, breathing through my teeth, waiting for a punchline from the universe that never came. The whisper didn't repeat. The box was still. Silent. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't before. On the underside of the flap, I peeled back, someone had written a name in black ink. Faded. Jagged. Marjorie. Who was Marjorie? A relative. A lost tenant. A warning? My mind ran wild, and in the silence that followed, I realized the hallway outside my door had gone quiet. No creaking pipes, no upstairs footsteps, just a stillness that pressed against the windows. By 2 a.m., I still hadn't slept. I put the box in the bathtub, closed the bathroom door, not because I thought that would do anything, but because I didn't want it watching me, not after what I heard. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to reason with myself. Maybe I was tired. Maybe the sound was in my head. Old pipes, distant voices through the vents, a stray radio frequency. But even as I told myself those things, I couldn't shake the image of Mr. Dalton's face, that polite smile, that careful voice. Something that doesn't belong here anymore. Why me? Why now? And what would he say when he came back tomorrow? At 6:17 a.m., I heard the knock again. 3 slow taps. Same as before. I got out of bed and opened the door, heart thudding. Mr. Dalton stood there, hands folded behind his back. Same polished shoes, same too calm expression. You still have it? I nodded. Good, he said. Then I need to tell you something, about what's inside, and what it's trying to do. He stepped inside before I could answer, and when he saw the bathroom door, closed, sealed with a towel jammed underneath, he nodded like he already knew. That's smart, he said. Why? I asked, voice shaking. Mr. Dalton looked at me. Because Marjorie likes to whisper. But if she starts knocking back, that's when the real trouble begins. Mr. Dalton stepped into the apartment like he'd lived there before. He didn't ask to sit, didn't look around, just stared at the closed bathroom door like it might open on its own. How long did she wait before speaking? He asked quietly. I didn't answer right away, because part of me still wanted to believe I hadn't heard what I heard. About an hour, I finally said. Then, just one word. Please. He nodded once, like that made perfect sense. She's always polite at first. I stood near the kitchen counter, arms crossed, trying to act braver than I felt. Mr. Dalton, what is this? Who is Marjorie? And what's in that box? He turned to me slowly, like someone pulling a memory out from the bottom of a drawer. Marjorie was my mother. The words hung in the air like smoke. I blinked. You put your mother in a box? He chuckled, dry, bitter, tired. Not exactly. That's not her, of course. Not her body. Not even her voice, really. It's what's left. A presence. A residue. A fragment. He walked toward the bathroom door and placed one palm against it. He didn't flinch. She died in this building, years before I inherited it. alone, angry, forgotten by everyone except the rent ledger. He turned back to me. After I moved in, strange things started happening. Voices, cold spots, dreams that didn't feel like dreams. I swallowed hard. You're saying your mom haunted you? Not just me, he said. Tenants, visitors, inspectors. One woman broke her lease after 2 weeks. Another had a breakdown. He stepped away from the door and leaned on the kitchen counter. I called priests, paranormal experts, therapists. Nothing helped. Until someone told me about containment, said some energies, especially ones tied to deep grief or rage, could be isolated if you respected their boundaries. He gestured toward the bathroom. The box is lined with old silk and mirror shards, blessed salt, red string, things I don't fully understand, but they work. As long as the box stays closed, she stays quiet. I stared at him. Then why did you give it to me? That was the part I couldn't get past. Because I had to leave. His voice cracked just slightly. She's wearing me down, slowly. My memory's slipping. I hear her in my sleep. I see her reflection in windows that shouldn't have any. He looked exhausted. She knows me too well. I can't resist her anymore. I felt the cold air in the room sharpen. So you handed her off to someone else? Number I handed her off to someone new. She doesn't know you yet. Doesn't know how to manipulate you. That buys me time to... To what? I snapped. Figure out your next victim? He looked genuinely hurt. To end this. For good. I just need a few days. I walked to the bathroom, hand hovering near the doorknob. What happens if I open it? Mr. Dalton's expression turned solemn. She'll try to talk to you. First kindly, then with guilt, then with anger. And once she finds your weakness, she'll use it. She lives in guilt. She feeds on regret. There was a long silence. Then, almost in a whisper, Did she ever say your name? He asked. I froze, because she had, not out loud, not clear. But after the whisper, please, I'd heard something else, faint, murmured. Don't leave me, Alex. My name. A chill ran down my spine. Mr. Dalton closed his eyes. She's already learning you. I backed away from the door. Take it back. Now I don't want it. But he didn't move. If I take it back now, I won't survive the week. You're my only chance. My breath caught in my throat. I had no idea how this man had turned my rent-free month into a supernatural hostage situation. But now it wasn't about money, or kindness, or favors. It was about survival. Mine, and his. One more night, he said. Then I promise, I'll take her off your hands forever. I didn't believe him, but I also didn't see another choice. That night, I didn't sleep, because sometime after midnight, the knocks started. Not at the door, from inside the bathroom. The knocking started at 2:14 a.m., soft, rhythmic, 3 knocks, just like Mr. Dalton's. Only slower, more deliberate, like she was learning how I listen. I didn't move. I lay in bed, eyes fixed on the bathroom door across the dark apartment, lit faintly by the glow of a street lamp outside. Knock, knock, knock. Each one pulled tighter on the invisible thread in my chest. I wanted to scream, wanted to throw the box outside, call the cops, set fire to the whole cursed building. Instead, I got up, barefoot, silent, careful not to make a sound on the hardwood. I pressed my ear to the bathroom door. Silence. Then, Alex, whispered, like it was being said from under a heavy blanket, or through water. You're not like the others. I stepped back, heart pounding, hand trembling at my side. What do you want? I asked. I don't know why I said it. Maybe part of me wanted to understand. Maybe part of me already knew she wasn't just trapped in that box. She was reaching. I want to be remembered. The voice was thin, a child's whisper, but layered beneath it. Something older, hungrier. You were forgotten, I said, but I'm not the one who did that. No response. I waited. Then, a creak. Not from the door. From inside, the sound of cardboard shifting, of something that had been still, moving. "I remember you now," she said. "I remember your mother. She cried in this bathtub. You were 5. You broke her perfume bottle." My breath caught in my throat. Because that was true. Something I hadn't thought of in years. A random buried moment from my childhood, in another city. "How do you know that?" Silence. Then, "Let me out, and I'll tell you everything." I stumbled backward, shaking, every cell in my body screaming no. Because now it was clear, Marjorie wasn't just some trapped spirit. She was a collector, a mimic, something that didn't belong to this world, but understood how to wear it. I picked up my phone and texted Mr. Dalton. "Me. She's talking again. She knows things about me." "Me. You said one night. This is it." "Me. Come now, or I open the door and let her come find you." No reply. I waited 10 minutes, 20. Then, my phone buzzed. "Dalton. Meet me downstairs. Bring the box. Don't speak to her again." I wrapped the box in 2 towels, barely able to touch it without flinching. It was still warm, not like a heated object, more like a person. I carried it down 3 flights, each step feeling like it took hours. The hallways were empty, silent, no flickering lights, no ghosts in the mirror, just the unbearable weight in my hands. Mr. Dalton waited by the old maintenance door that led to the basement. He looked worse than before, eyes sunken, lips pale. One of his hands trembled as he reached for the key. "She's accelerating," he said. "What does that mean?" "The more people she connects with, the faster she learns, the faster she spreads." He unlocked the door and led me down into the basement. Old water pipes groaned above us. The air was cold, damp, and thick with the smell of rust and earth. In the corner of the room sat a circle made of white chalk and shattered glass. Inside it, an old wooden crate lined with mirrors. "Put her in." I hesitated. "What happens if I don't?" He looked at me, eyes glassy. "Then one day she stops whispering and starts screaming, and you won't be you anymore when it happens." I placed the box in the crate. As soon as it touched the bottom, the room went still. The air lightened. The pressure in my chest eased, but only slightly. Dalton sealed the crate, locked it with 3 latches, and tied it shut with what looked like iron wire. "You'll still hear her for a few nights," he said, "but eventually she'll forget you, just like she forgets everything, until the next time." "There can't be a next time," I said. He nodded, slowly. "That's why I need your help." I stared at him, suddenly dizzy with dread. "Help with what?" He looked at me, voice hollow. "Burying her." We drove in silence. Mr. Dalton didn't explain where we were going. I didn't ask. The crate sat in the trunk, wrapped in black fabric, tied tight with rusted chain. Every turn of the wheels felt like we were getting further from safety. And maybe that was the point. The sun was just starting to rise, orange light spilling over the hills like something sacred. But it didn't feel like morning. It felt like a warning. Dalton's hands gripped the steering wheel like he was holding something back. A tremor in his jaw told me he hadn't slept in days. Finally, he spoke. "There's a place, about an hour from here. Used to be a church cemetery before the state bought the land. Now it's just forgotten." He glanced at me. "That's what she needs. Not banishment, not fire. Just to be forgotten." I didn't know if I believed him, but I knew I didn't want that thing near me ever again. So I stayed quiet. The dirt road looked like it hadn't seen a car in years. Tall grass brushed the sides of the car. Trees leaned over us like they were eavesdropping. The sun had fully risen now, but somehow it didn't reach this place. We parked beside a rusted fence with no gate. Beyond it, rows of crooked headstones jutted out of the earth like broken teeth. Dalton grabbed a shovel from the trunk. "We don't mark it. No stone, no flowers, no names." Why me? I asked. He paused. Because she knows me too well. If I bury her, she'll find her way back. But you? You're a stranger. She didn't take hold. I wanted to argue, wanted to remind him that I'd heard her voice, felt her presence. But deep down, I understood. I hadn't let her in, and maybe that was enough. The digging took 2 hours. We didn't talk. The only sounds were the shovel striking dirt and the wind moving through the trees. At one point, I thought I heard her again. Very faint. Alex, it's cold. But I didn't stop digging. Dalton handed me the crate. It felt heavier than before, like she knew what was happening. And as I lowered it into the ground, a strange thing happened. My ears popped, like pressure releasing. The air grew warm, and for a second, it felt peaceful, like she'd accepted it. Dalton poured salt around the edges, muttering something under his breath. Then we filled the hole, shovel after shovel, dirt erasing memory. By the end, it looked like nothing had ever been there. We stood in silence for a long time. Then Dalton turned to me. She's part of the ground now. That's the most mercy I can give her. And the box? I asked. Won't open, not for anyone, not in that soil. He lit a match, dropped it onto the salt, and watched the faint flame sizzle and die in the wind. She needed to be buried where no one would remember. Back in the car, I finally asked what had haunted me most. What was the favor? The one you were going to ask? Dalton looked out the window, face hard to read. That was it. You wanted me to bury your mother? He shook his head slowly. Number, I wanted you to bury the version of her that never let go. Weeks passed. I moved out of the apartment, didn't leave a forwarding address, didn't even take my security deposit. Some things are better left behind. I still think about her sometimes, usually late at night when everything's quiet. Sometimes I hear a knock, 3 soft taps, and I sit straight up, heart racing. But it's always just the wind. At least, I hope it is. A month later, I got a letter. No return address. Just my name. Inside was a check for my next month's rent, and a note, typed on the same paper as before. You kept your promise. She's quiet now. Thank you. D. No signature. No explanation. Just closure. Or something close enough to it. Some favors come with strings. Others come with whispers. And if your landlord ever offers you a month of free rent for no reason, ask what it costs before you say yes.